on the right hand side. And on that, you just click and see choose virtual background. Are you with me?
Yes.
So you click on choose virtual background. Then you will find a plus sign below your photo on the right hand side.
Okay, meeting is live streaming, so let us stick to the meeting now. Already
Okay.
It is live stream.
All right, okay.
We still have 10 minutes to go.
Our MC has not yet come.
Prabhat, are you going to run one of those videos now? Promo videos?
Can be played, yes, but where is the MC? Raf kidhar hai?
I'm there, sir. I'm there.
Okay, you are there. Okay, fine.
So promo videos would be with you, sir.
Is this better? I think this is better. Visibility.
It's very good, sir.
Yes, definitely better. I think that lots of complicated background just clutters the whole screen.
Yeah, not just that. It also takes up a lot of data, you know. And so when the person, like if I move, the screen doesn't move. So it shows a lot of blurred images, etc. This is better.
Okay, as we had decided, now the office bearers, panelists, speakers will be only on the picture and the MC. Rest all can switch off their video. Nobody has switched on, rather. And Viraf, your MC, you keep your video on.
Yes, sir. Just to draw your attention,
yeah,
participants have joined.
Good morning.
So just to let everybody know, the participants have also joined, sir.
नहीं, शुरू में what we can do is, जैसे अभी I can see Captain Carlo. Captain Carlo can, before the actual thing starts, they can just show themselves and then again switch off their video so that the data is less consumed.
Do I have time to fetch myself a hot cup of coffee before we start?
Yes, you have 5 minutes.
Are you offering that to us also? Then you have all the time, sir.
Look, we already have a chai wala. I don't want to be a coffee wala.
देखिए आज के पैनल में ज्यादातर इंजीनियर्स हैं, so I am wearing tie.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Viraf, whenever you start, you can just announce recording to start, because now I can see recording is paused.
Right, sir.
Captain BP saying namaskar. सब लोग म्यूट पे हैं, तो दमशरा वाला नमस्कार चलेगा. Captain Chabra, good morning. Thank you. All of you are on mute, so you will just have to do some symbolic gestures. I saw your hand wave. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Captain BP Singh.
Great to see you, Yashwant. कैप्टन छाबरा, आपको वेबिनार शुरू होने के पहले ही पसीना आ गया, ऐसे कैसे होगा?
Okay, I have something in chat. It says, Abdul Ghani ji कह रहे हैं हर घर तिरंगा. So to everybody till the 15th August, this should be the new national greeting month. हर घर तिरंगा. Okay.
Happy to see that there are already more than 40 people before time.
Yes. They were waiting, sir. इतना important topic है, enhancing the capabilities of trainers and training. There are a lot of seasoned trainers sitting like Captain Yashwant Chabra.
Yeah.
And
I see Captain Prasad also here.
Yes, yes. So इतने seasoned trainers हैं और यही seasoned trainer की पहचान है कि वो सोचता है और क्या सीख लूं.
अब आएगी मॉडरेटर और 4 पैनलिस्ट की पहचान. क्या जवाब देते हैं?
Kamal, are we playing the video? Good morning, Dr. Maldi Shankar.
I haven't got any video.
Chalo, that's okay. Then let it be.
Kumar, wasn't Kumar supposed to do something on the video?
He was, but I don't know.
Okay.
No problem.
I can play a video, but it might not be the appropriate one.
No, no.
You know, typically in the younger days when we had Doordarshan, only Doordarshan, morning 10 o'clock used to be Tom and Jerry or Bal Bheem or something like that. If you remember.
Dr. Shankar has got a beautiful background. I can see the beaches of Chennai over there. Viraf, I think you can start now. It's almost time.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Just to confirm, my audio, video, and share screen is operational. Thank you very much.
Yes, Viraf. Looks fine, and we can hear you loud and clear.
Right, thank you, sir. Counting down the clock. Nearly at T+0.
Priyanka Mathur says, please increase audio volume. I think we can hear you loud and clear. That's fine.
Right, sir. I'll be louder. Thank you, Ms. Priyanka, for sharing the feedback. I'll be louder. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, starting with our keynote speaker. Madam, thank you for sparing time. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning on Saturday. We can be rest assured that the next 2 hours are going to be very educational, very informative, and very, very interactive and captivating. On behalf of the Maritime Trainers Guild, I would like to welcome everybody for the celebration of the 11th Foundation Day. The Foundation Day is 4th of August, 11 years ago, and the Saturday after that is celebrated as Foundation Day. And we are celebrating this event with a discussion on enhancing capabilities of trainers and training. We would like everybody to participate. Of course, regular netiquettes will apply of using either the chat box or the icon for raised hands, and we can keep our timing and schedule accordingly. Before we move ahead, we would like to play a very short presentation, which typically tells you a lot more about Maritime Trainers Guild. A lot of you are already aware of it, so please bear with us for the new joiners. This is for their benefit, and we'd like to share small achievements that MTG has made in the last 11 years. So, here's to it. You see our logo and the motto below it, Tamasoma Jyoti Game. And next slide gives an explanation of what it is. As we all understand and are aware, one wealth which grows by sharing is knowledge. And that is the driving force for this Maritime Trainers Guild. We have partners in India and overseas. So thank you for the overseas corporate partners also joining us despite the time zone difference. Our missions and vision statement is now available. We want to collectively move towards excellence in maritime training with a world-class association of maritime teaching facilitators, and share the knowledge and skill set that we have, and provide feedback to the stakeholders of the industry on this through this platform. This slide shows a list of eminent mentors. Most of them would need no introduction, and their portraits with their names are there. And they have been guiding us over these 11 years towards achieving greater heights each passing day. This one is incorporating the founder directors, starting with the president, Captain Pravat Nigam, and the steering committee members, the vice president, secretary, joint secretary, treasurer, marketing and digitalization. And we also have taken it to have 4 cardinal heads representing the various regions across our country. They are listed below. A quick look at the founder members of the guild. You can see a lot of eminent names out there from various spheres of maritime education and training. And as already mentioned, 4th August will be celebrated, or the celebrations will, of course, be on the closest Saturday after that. And we have been following that tradition for some time. This is a gist of all the activities which have happened since the foundation in 2011. There are a gamut of topics which have been covered, and we have a lot of corporate partners who have very kindly facilitated each of these events. They are listed on this PowerPoint presentation, so we can quickly go through most of these events. Whether it has been ASP or Williamson or MSC for that matter, they have always been very, very supportive of our endeavors. There's a few screenshots of the 4th meeting, review on entry standards and training at pre-sea level. As you see through the slides, each topic is quite unique and yet quite critical to our industry. And the collective feedbacks from all these meetings have been shared with the stakeholders, and to a large extent that has paved the way for innovations and improvements in the maritime education segment, I'm sorry. This is the 6th meeting, Voyage through a New Approach and Training, while the 7th one, Training vis-a-vis exam industry requirements. This was a very, very strong representation. This was a physical meeting with a lot of footfall, both from the top levels of the industry right down to our freshers and cadets. There was a lot of interactive participation and a lot of think tank feedback came in for the seminar on examination system and the way forward. Just a few snippets from that event. The 9th meeting again was a large event and an interactive seminar at the Marriott about challenges in maritime training. It was formally launched by TGS, and we would have a few snippets of that event as well. This was followed by something which is particularly important, particularly when you see the date involved. This is a pre-COVID event, and MTG was already working towards something which has now become the new normal. It had already had an interactive seminar on digitizing the maritime training. And you can now see the evidence of the facts about the proactive efforts of MTG. We were already there before COVID-19 visited us. That was at New Delhi. Again, the chief guest was Shri Amitabh Kumarji. This was, of course, followed up by the pandemic time. MTG decided to be very proactive on this. It was one of the first startups to recognize and introduce the need for training for the e-trainer. A comprehensive project was taken up, and there was a TET training for e-trainer and train the e-learner, which was done in June and July 2020. This was followed by the Memorial Day lecture on, again, out there, the platform has remained now on webinar because of reasons all known to us. So understanding NEP in sync with MET and Blue Economy, we had specialists from the Chitkara University and Captain Gajanan, a well-known figure in our industry. There's a brief of the speakers of that event. Moving on to the next slide. And just one more for Captain Gajanan. The next event to follow was the MTG Foundation Day. This was the 10th anniversary celebration exactly a year ago. Topics for discussion was, as you see on the screen, modern training and assessment techniques, and a panel discussion quite similar to what we are expected to have today, and the importance of onboard training and mentoring, followed by an award function. Again, a snippet of what occurred on 23rd February, earlier this year. And that's a quick wind up and moving along to the next part of the program. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker and the very renowned Dr. Malini V. Shankar, Madam. to summarize a good career of over 40 years in as brief as possible as I can. Madam, please accept my apologies in advance if I've skipped out anything. But Vice Chancellor of IMU, as we all know, has also been the former DGS, and in her tenure, she brought in a lot of changes, a lot of improvements to maritime education and training beyond all her other JD as DGS. Her career started from the IAS batch of 1984. She's the chairperson of the National Shipping Board, a government-appointed board member for IL&FS. The doctorate that you all see is from a very reputable institute, which is IIT Chennai. It's institutional economics doctorate. This alone is obviously not satisfied her academic hunger. She has a management degree from the Asian Institute of Management, Manila. She has also been one of the 7 global recipients and the first Indian woman to be awarded from the very same institute, the AAA award from the Asian Institute of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now 2 years plus on using the reactions. Please feel free to use the reaction to applaud her achievements. You have the icons on your toolbar. She has also a master's degree in chemistry from Massachusetts University, topped up by a diploma in international economics from Paris. She is also, as most of us know, appointed by the IMO as honorary member of World Maritime University, which means we are very fortunate to have her on our stage today. And I would request you all to welcome Madam Dr. Malini V. Shankar for her keynote address. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. And at the outset, I'd like to really thank the Maritime Trainers Guild for giving me an opportunity to share my views on maritime training. And before I start on the address, my felicitations to the Maritime Trainers Guild on the 11th Foundation Day and their commitment to carrying forward the training and education in the maritime sector. We as members of maritime fraternity often express angst about the need to bolster the sector. Shipbuilding, ship ownership, increasing the number of Indian seafarers in the global scale, enhancing the quality of training and education, ensuring refresher training, and building leadership roles. All of them are very, very valid issues. However, I feel very strongly that while we stress about these outcomes, there is a need to lay equal, if not greater emphasis on nurturing and forming capable and committed teaching fraternity in the sector. It cannot be overstated that despite the long coastline and trained manpower, maritime sector has underplayed its prowess in India. Attention has veered away over time from the seas to the roads, railways, and air. Recent developments have, however, seen the government's focus returning to the oceans. The Sagar Initiative, the Indo-Pacific Initiative, Sagarmala projects, Maritime India Vision, Gati Shakti, and incentives and budgetary support for Indian-built and inland waterways, not to speak about the larger umbrella of blue economy and maritime security. The rapid advancement in global engineering technologies over the last half a century has found numerous applications in the maritime sector, which has led to modernization of the ports, improved efficiency in ship turnaround times, containerization, and enhanced port security. Automation, 3D modeling of ship design, modular construction, usage of composites and lighter materials, 3D printings are some of the developments, just to name a few, which are aimed at enhancing efficiency in the manufacturing process, shortening the supply chain, and leading to cost and time savings. We also have the use of robotics, which has benefited from digitalization in terms of increased speed and scale of production, and optimization of costly human resources. Robots are now performing pipe inspections and hull cleaning tasks, ensuring better and uniform work quality to more exacting and specific standards. Virtual reality and augmented reality help to minimize physical wastage, streamline the hull dynamics, and stability calculations during the design process. The use of alternate fuels, the adoption of fuel optimization systems are being used to offer cleaner and more efficient ships. As an alternative fuel to diesel, LNG reportedly reduces carbon emission by up to 25%, and this is a main research area in the sector. We also have smart ships, green ports, smart cities. These are buzzwords introducing latest technology in operation and management. Cybernetics is being applied to enable data from sensors in various areas of the ship to be monitored towards encouraging the use of more efficient practices on board. Goals for carbon dioxide reduction is going to cause major technological developments in terms of logistics, hydrodynamics, machinery and fuel, and most importantly, skills of optimizing speed. Skills regarding sustainable use of new environmental technologies and fuels, managing cyber risks, autonomy and control systems. Safe use and storage of carbon and LNG as well as battery packages, retractable wind turbines, solar panels, sails, advanced routing, calculation and documentation of emissions, control center systems and operations. The list is very, very long, and we are not at the end of it. IoT and the increasing use of cloud enables greater information flow from ashore and better decision-making afloat. Advancement in wireless technology, advanced analytics including blockchain, digital twinning of model and database decision support add to these technological advancements. Being future prepared with the advent of autonomous ships also calls for data analytics, predictive analytical skills such as dispersed crew and remote operation, cargo tracking, cargo condition monitoring, logistics and value chain, smart port operations, and traffic and fleet management. As we all know, the Maritime India Vision 2030, and which is now extending to 2047, has a whole chapter on human and institutional capacity building. The focus, in my opinion, has however been on port capacity, transshipment, cruise tourism, ship repair, and shipbuilding. So when you open any document in terms to learn about the MIB 2030, these are the aspects which are highlighted. While employment creation is undoubtedly the key objective of any government, and rightfully so, employability is an aspect that deserves critical attention. How prepared are our youths to address these rapid developments in technology and acquire the skill requirements? So Devanshu Datta, in a recent article in Business Standard, said the clock is ticking on demographic dividend and wonders if India is losing the game when it comes to reaping the benefits of having a young population. A report by SkillSea published in April 2020 on the future skill and competence needs identifies key areas that need attention. And these include response to rapid development of technologies on board, soft skills in leadership and management, bridging programs that complement the IMO-based education, bridging the distance between shore-based and sea-going profiles, or otherwise called the transversal skills between occupational profiles. Mr. Vinod Orbeck Nielsen, who is the CEO of DNB, has said the biggest challenge for seafarers is understanding data. So has President of Kongsberg Maritime saying seafarers should know how to interact with computers to respond to challenges. The knowledge of associated fields has also been identified to be critical in being a good seafarer and later day contributing to the seafaring community. These include chartering, insurance, and logistics besides others. So the skill set report finally concludes, and I quote, that society requires skill sets between nautical studies, engineering, and management. These include information technology, data science, environmental science, law, and financing. Digital and language literacy, social literacy, and ship finance, law, insurance, and management competence are suggested as future skill sets. Now, Dramatic change in education can be seen in the fourth industrial revolution because of all the technological developments. Artificial intelligence, big data, augmented reality, blockchain, to name a few. Technology is a form of pedagogy. It shapes the way we think and design learning experiences. Now, I have dwelt a lot on this technological aspects and why. The reports, as well as any report talks about this, the cadet, the seagoing cadet should be familiar and skilled at all these aspects. But step back a little and say, do we have these skills to impart among the faculty, among the teaching community, to impart them effectively in a very short period to the cadets, whether they are fresh or they are refreshed? My experience is that the teaching faculty have to keep abreast of the trends, and they have to respond to all these future needs. And that is where I think the maritime trainer skill can step in, while we are looking at seafarers to say, how do you refresh their skills? How do you bring them up to date with the technological developments? There is this urgent need to look at the faculty, the teaching staff, and say, are they up to date? Are they abreast of the developments, both in technology as well as allied fields? I think this is very, very important because, first of all, the number of seafarers who come into the teaching line, into education or academics or even research, is very minuscule. And those who come need to be nurtured, need to be handheld to develop their skills going into the future. And I was asked very recently in a non-shipping related workshop to talk on metaverse. And I told them, I don't even know the meaning of this metaverse and you want me to talk on that. They said, well, go learn and do it. So I was looking at that and I did a lot of research and had a deep diving session into what is metaverse. And basically the metaverse provides, like many of us might know, experiential and embodied skilling opportunities using real world scenarios and high pressure situations where you can make mistakes without a consequence. When well designed, it says metaverse combines virtual reality with data science and spatial design to improve learner engagement, confidence, and application. And these digital experiences can truly, they say, democratize education. Now, talking to, when I was doing this research on metaverse, says some of the companies have actually started using metaverse to project their products, to do their marketing. For example, Siap Tires says that you can go to a showroom and you can feel the tires and ask questions, etc. But you cannot burst that tire. You cannot apply pressure to the tire and wait till where it explodes or where it gives way, and then start making your decision on purchases. Whereas in metaverse, all this is possible without causing any damage. Now, this is an example where the private sector, the corporate sector has stepped in, but there are instances that I'm coming across where educational institutions have started going into the metaverse space and marine engineering, marine technology, including nautical science, is very, very richly placed for using in metaverse. Now, when we don't even know what metaverse is, whereas other people have dived into it, how do we ensure that the people who are transporting this information and imparting this skill are trained in metaverse? So skills that play to the unique strengths of the metaverse, and I'm dwelling on it because that is the future. It may not be today, it may not be next year, but going into it looks like it's the future for spatial training, involving hands and body for tasks that are too dangerous, expensive, inconvenient, or simply impossible to practice in real life. There are other examples for routine abnormal operations, emergency response, stressful workplace situations, and so on it goes. But the key point is, how do we get into these futuristic situations, futuristic openings, opportunities, or challenges to ensure that we are in the race, and both our seafarers as well as the people who are imparting training and education to the seafarers are in the race as well. Now, this is the technological part or the technical part. There are other aspects for teachers to do when it comes to training. It is not just going into a classroom and giving a classroom lecture or giving an evaluation and process. It's also in the recent context, and there's been a lot of talk on this about the mental mental health challenges that seafarers are facing, not just physical challenges, but not just due to pandemic. Now, how do we empower and build the capacity of the teacher to do this mentoring, to promote wellness, to ensure that there is a balance between the classroom teaching and the personality development of the seafarer, so that they can they don't get stressed out and they don't have a burnout very soon. So these are, and I've come across several teachers who are excellent at managing both, but a bulk of our teachers in India, and I'm not referring just to the maritime sector, look at teaching, and they're also, it's becoming like, it's not just seafaring, even teaching is becoming very stressful process because of all the documentation that is required, etc. But how do we ensure that they have a mental health well-being before they are able to deal with the challenges that the students have? So I'm going to end with an article that I read on cognitive science research a long time back, and this pertains to attention span of the students. And this was in the context of high school students, but I think mutatis mutandis, it should apply to many others too. So it compared the teaching process, the attention span, to the technical developments in society. For example, pre-industrial, don't even go to pre-industrialization, but pre-television. Before television became ubiquitous, what would a student do? There were books, there were libraries. They would take the book and they could read it on a nice rainy day with a hot cup of tea beside them for 3 hours, 4 hours at a stretch. And then came television, and it was still okay because initially in the Indian context, the television, you had only 3 hours or 4 hours a day, so you could still, you're capable of reading a book for 3 hours. And then came multiple channels, so the attention span reduced. And then came the remote control. So you have remote control plus multiple channels plus OTT now. So it goes zip, 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 zip. You don't like this, and your attention span, according to the article, reduced to 2 minutes from, let's say, 3 hours about 20 years ago. But the challenge is for the teacher to say, what I could teach for 3 hours, because there was attention span, I could talk for 1 hour and the student would be attentive. Now it is only 2 minutes. So stretch it a little bit, okay, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I have to impart the entire knowledge that has to be imparted during that, for that classroom or for that module, in that 2 to 15 minutes. So one of the solutions offered in that cognitive science paper was, we have stuck with an education pedagogy mode, the same pedagogy for about last 100 years. The school system, the teaching, the classroom teaching has been the same. Yes, there have been PowerPoints. Yes, there has been some online development, but it is still, by and large, the classroom mode. So how do you shift from that classroom mode to slowly and gradually into a more interactive mode? That is what it was suggesting. The interactive mode actually gives, it's like having hands-on experience, working towards that, and ensuring that attention span is addressed, as well as the absorption capacity, the retention capacity is also addressed. So these are some of the points I thought I will flag for your discussion and for taking forward the ambitions and the objectives of the MDG. I oftentimes hear mariners refer to stellar role models and how much they learn from each of their teachers or each of their seniors, both in the classroom and on board ships. Perhaps we need to introspect the means by which we continue to encourage and promote such role models, many of them younger ones, so that future generations of seafarers will benefit from the wisdom and passion of the knowledge and skill of these role models. Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience, attention, and wish you the very, very best, Maritime Trainers Guild, the directors, the members, and the entire fraternity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, Madam Dr. Malini Shankar. I join, I'm sure, all the participants in disclosing the fact that a lot of the subjects that you spoke on, we may have not even heard about it. Metaverse, to me, is something which is part of the Spider-Man series for what I know about it. And, you know, throwing so much light in so little time, we are very grateful for it. Something very interesting, despite the fact that, you know, it's self-realization now that you brought it up, that the challenges which modern day maritime education is faced with, you know, sometimes when you have mental issues, you're the last person to know about it. So the stress levels that fellow maritime trainers are facing, you know, with the changing methods, particularly with the rapid change of methods in the last 2 years, you brought that up, and we are very grateful for that. We are also very grateful that you brought up the issue of what is now referred to as micro learning bites. The fact that the attention span has changed in the society in step with whatever is available to the society, and that today delivery mediums are as small a package as even 2 minutes or even 30 seconds training videos. And the fact that all these delivery mediums now need to be a very strong two-way interaction, something which is challenging even in the metaverse as compared to the classroom. And we have a lot of raised hands out here. We would invite, I think Captain Shiv Halbesa had raised his hand. Captain Kalon, I thought I saw him raise his hand. And anything in the text, I would please request my seniors and colleagues to contribute on this subject.
Captain Viraf, good morning, ma'am, and good morning, everyone. It was technology defeated me. Instead of clapping, I raised my hand. So it was a clap.
Lot more claps that we saw.
And we will keep the questions
at the end.
House. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much once again, madam. We now have a presentation on outcome-based education framework. I had to make sure I have a sip of water because this is a long series of achievements which I need to read out for Dr. Vijay Kumar Jadhav, who is our next speaker. He's Dean of Academic Affairs at Chitkara University Applied Engineering. His academic career, of course, is a longish one and still continues with him graduating from Jodhpur in 1990. That was topped up by a gold medal in MTech design from IIT Roorkee in 94. The PhD is also from IIT Roorkee. Over 25 years of teaching experience in locations like Thapar University, Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Beyond teaching, he has headed a variety of institutions, Rayat and Bara, Gyan Jyoti and Badi University. He was awarded visiting fellowship by a lot of reputable establishments. He has not limited his expertise to his own self. He has been a great guide and mentor, allowing at least 6 PhDs to be awarded under students under him and 27 MTech students. He has published at least 50 research publications in international journals, which have led up to 600 citations and over. His publications also include books on machine design data, elements of mechanical engineering, engineering drawing, C programming, image processing using Python, and he is featured in the Learn the Lab in Lab series on Kindle. He has a vast interest. His areas of expertise are mobile robotics, tribology, and beyond that, he has administrative and academic qualities, both matching. He has visited and inspected, audited a lot of Punjab Technical University as part of Punjab University team and AICTE team. He has also, for the AICTE, conducted 6 workshops to implement the examination reform, focusing on the outcome-based education framework. He has delivered more than 10 sessions on writing course outcome and evaluating attainment of outcome at course level and program level. Please let us all welcome Dr. Vijay Kumar Jadhav. Thank you, sir. Please.
Thank you for this nice introduction. Just see what I could heard when I was listening to Dr. Malini Shankar. I suppose most of the things she spoke, that was all about OBE. But the name was not OBE, but it is all about outcome-based education. As she touched upon multidisciplinary, you can say, education, different learning experiences, the challenges for the faculty or the faculty, higher expectations from the faculty, the requirement of the skill from the students, and most importantly, which I generally prefer, or I always say, it's all about the self-learning nowadays. So all these things collectively together makes outcome-based education. There is nothing new. When I start this session anywhere, just see, I said there is nothing new in outcome-based education. It is, we are doing it in pieces, bits and pieces for quite long. But now the change is only that we have basically structured this and we named it as outcome-based education. The education is from long, and everyone is working on education. The focus is we should give a better output on, you can say, daily basis. This year, if we have some output, the next year we should have better student output. So that is what the focus is, whatever may be the type of education that we are going through. So the flow of this particular session will just basically touch upon the conventional education system. Then we will discuss something about outcome-based education framework and the new term. They may be new for some of you, but I suppose some of you must be aware of all these terms: graduate attributes and program outcome. So these terms basically come because just see what has been discussed, or many of us are rightly, you can say, promoting that we should have skill-based education. We should have, you can say, some changes. The things are not moving much in as far as the delivery is concerned or the assessment is concerned. So all these things, the graduate attributes and program outcome have been introduced just to make things happen, and happen in a way that we can evaluate and then we can improve. So that is, these two terms are just because of these graduate attributes of the program outcome. We'll discuss some of them in detail, no doubt within the limit of time frame. See, the objective of this session is to bring clarity in the implementation. Just say, sorry for the misspelling. Implementation process of outcome-based education through the appropriate understanding of various outcome-based education elements such as program education objective, program outcome, and course outcome. Don't worry if we are aware of these terms. We'll certainly will be discussing these when we go along the presentation. And the outcomes of this session, after completion of this session, the participants would be able to write the outcome statement, plan the implementation of OBE. So the objective and outcomes mentioned here deliberately just to make you aware that there are two different things. Objectives have some other, you can say, framework. Objectives are written with some other framework in mind, and outcome with some other framework in mind. And that is where the difference lies between the conventional education and the outcome-based education. In conventional education, we talk about objectives, and in outcome-based education, we talk about the outcomes. So let us first discuss just for a while the education. We all know education is a process of facilitating the learnings or acquisition of knowledge, skill, values, belief, and habits. It's self-explanatory. The education system is responsible for organizing, controlling, and delivering the education and training, and have some input, and the output is product or the professional. So just see, this is also very, you can say, self-explanatory diagram, or the well-known fact that that is what we require. As input, we require finances, resources in terms of even the students or the faculty, and the infrastructure certainly we need to handle that educational system that we are providing for organizing, controlling, and delivering the education and training. In traditional system, what is the difference? Just in traditional system, it is the content by syllabus. It has to be done in a fixed time frame. In one lecture, you have to complete this. The learner is passive. It is not actively participating in teaching learning process, and it is teacher-centric, examination-driven. It is rote learning is there, low order thinking, focus, and the list may be endless. So that is what the challenge is. And this new education, this National Education Policy 2020 is all focusing to remove these, you can say, drawbacks of traditional education system, and trying to make that flexible syllabus, time frame to be also flexible. Learner has to be in the forefront. It has to be active learning, and examination systems are not to be only fixed hour examination. It has to be, you can say, assessment, and so on and so forth. When we talk about low order thinking, it is largely low order thinking is when we are only, you can say, learning through remembering the things. So that is what basically comes is one part of the low order thinking. But there are two terms, low order thinking skills and high order thinking skills, that we will discuss as you can say briefly when you go through this presentation. In the outcome-based education, as we have already discussed, I have already, you can say, accepted whatever Dr. Malini spoke, that everything was all about outcome-based education. I am just basically putting the things in the framework. So outcome-based education is focusing and organizing an education system around what is essential for students to be able to do. So the highlighted phrase that is students to be able to do is the prime in outcome-based education. We have to only focus on what student to be able to do after their learning experience. So that is what basically is key for outcome-based education. We have to focus, we have to design each and everything. Teaching learning experience include many things: designing curriculum, delivery, examination, and the other activities related to teaching learning. So this teaching learning experience has to be designed only on the basis of what student to be able to do. It means we are largely focusing on the skill. When we say that student to be able to do, it means what skill he has gathered during when he was going through some learning experience. So that is what is the focus of outcome-based education. philosophy we are already discussing for years together. Even this term outcome-based education is, I suppose, the first research paper appears on outcome-based education in 1940. So that is about 80 years old term. And we were using these some elements of outcome-based education in our system as well, but it was not, you can say, within the framework. It was not complete the cycle that was required to get the maximum benefit out of it. It was not complete. So that is what basically we will be doing. But there are many other things that are required to evaluate whether we could basically implement the outcome-based education or not, and what is our achievement, whether we achieved the things that was expected from the learning experience or not. So that is what basically is required. And assessment to focus on evaluation of the attainment of the ability. That assessment, just see, in the conventional education system, we were not assessing the student continuously, and even if we were assessing the student continuously, we were not focusing on what student will be able to do after this learning experience. So that these are the two, you can say, gap that has to be addressed. And in outcome-based education, we are assessing the student but we are assessing the student to evaluate their ability, how much they have learned, the attainment of ability, how much they have you can say, attained their outcome. So that is what is the basic difference. So the process of attainment plays important role until we place the process of evaluating attainment. We cannot say that we have implemented OBE, because we are still doing the same things. We may have employed some of the outcome-based education, maybe the case studies, the experiential learning, maybe the PBL, or some other, you can say, element. But if we are not evaluating the attainment of ability, it means the things are not done. It is useless. There is no use of it. So that is what basically we'll try to focus during this. So in nutshell, OBE is about what students learn, that is outcome, not what we teach, that is objective. So that is why both these two things were there in the beginning of this presentation. One is the objective and another is the outcome. When we say objective, it is, as presenter, that is my responsibility to do. And as no doubt, both are my responsibility, but my focus would be on completing that. That is the only thing. But when we say it is the outcome, when we focus on the outcome, it means the complete process to be done. I should ensure not only that the participants would be able to do the listed component, and I must ensure that they have achieved something. That is you can say, evaluation of attainment of ability. So that part will not be there, but that is the basic difference on the statement of outcome and objective. So there are many researchers who have given their philosophy on outcome-based education, but the most important, and which is widely accepted, that is given by the Professor William Spaddy in 1994, and he was Faculty of Education and Arts, University of Newcastle, Australia. So though it was given by, just see, it is the Education and Art faculty has given this outcome-based education philosophy, and at the you can say contrary, the first official adoption of outcome-based education was the professional education, that is the engineering education, which officially adopted OBE framework for implementing worldwide. So that is, we'll be discussing that also in few, you can say, slide. So there are 4 parameters, 4, you can say, pillars of outcome-based education. First is the clarity of focus. It means you can say that this means that everything teacher do must be clearly focused on what they want student to know. So that is what is the clarity of focus. Student to know, not only know, to understand and be able to do after this, you can say, learning experience. So that is what basically is the clarity of focus is. When we implement outcome-based education, that clarity of focus means the program's outcome, the whatever program he is taking up, the outcome statement of those programs are to be decided for. He should have this much capability after the maritime training or studying in mechanical engineering and so on and so forth. Then designing down, second pillar, it means it is you have to design everything on the basis of the focus that we have first you can say listed down. We have listed down some of the outcome. Then designing down means after that we have to come down. We have to find out how many you can say subjects have to teach, how many practicals and this teaching learning the process to go, what would be the pedagogy and what would be the assessment, how the assessment would happen, and how the attainment will be evaluated. So everything is to be done after the clarity of focus, and it should, you can say, reach the bottom starting from the top. So that's the designing down approach. The high expectations means having everything in place and having, you can say, a structured way of evaluating attainment. I will be focusing on the evaluating attainment because evaluating the attainment, because that is, without that the is not complete. So high expectation is from the faculty, not from the student, not from the government or the management. This high expectation relate to the faculty because they have designed everything. Have designed the assessment. Assessment designing is the supreme thing because we all know that assessment drives learning. So a student will focus only on that if they know that this is how they will be assessed. This is what they will be assessed. So that is why the high expectation is from faculty, because they have to plan not only the delivery, but they have to plan the assessment also. The expanded opportunity, the last pillar of the outcome-based education given by SPADI, that you can say, as I always say, this is the philosophy, and that is why everyone has their own way of understanding and implementing, and you can say putting things on record what they feel. The expanded opportunity means we should have that flexibility in the system for the student, for the teacher, that they can learn on their own. Even if we, because every student does not have the same, you can say, capabilities. Some are slow learners, some are fast learner. So we should have, or we should design our curriculum or this teaching learning experience in such a way that everyone should get the opportunity. The other beauty of outcome-based education, which is not generally mentioned, or neither this NEP is having that particular, you can say, thing in any point, that is related to the target setting. Just see, there are many universities which are applying or which have implemented OBE. They are also giving the flexibility of setting up target, that I would be targeting only on 8 CGPA. I would be targeting for 10 CGPA. I would be targeting or 6 CGPA. There are many universities which are implementing OBE, and that aspect is also taken care of. That if I am targeting 8 CGPA, it is decided in the beginning of the semester, and then the evaluation and assessments are only on that basis. There are some, you can say, assessments which are only to be, you can say, given to those students, those who have opted for that much, or those targeted for the grade. So that is what basically, there are many things which we can do in this outcome-based education. So let us now discuss from where this term come and how it has moved into our education to from what to the, you can say, Indian education system. See, we will starting from this International Engineering Alliance, and this particular discussion on this slide is totally focused on the engineering education. So this International Engineering Alliance came into existence in 2007, and it acts as the umbrella, you can say, organization for these three accords, that is Washington Accord, the Sydney Accord, and the Dublin Accord. So Washington Accord was first to go. And in Washington Accord, 6 countries came together, that is the USA, UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and Ireland. These 6 countries came together, and they found that their educational system, engineering education system, no doubt, because I have made a disclaimer, this slide is only for engineering. But this is the first ever, when I say that this was engineering, was the first, you can say, educational system where this OBE was formally or officially implemented. So in Washington Accord, 6 countries came together on the basis of that their educational systems are alike. So what they decided, that if any graduate is coming from one country to another, out of these 6, they will be having, or they will be treated similar to the other country professionals. So that is what was the Washington Accord in nutshell. But for that, something was listed, and the graduate attribute is the outcome of this Washington Accord. They have listed that they should be evaluated on these outcomes. So you have to evaluate the attainment of the outcomes. So the list of outcome was given by the this Washington Accord. 6 countries came together, and then the things moved. Sydney Accord, similar kind of accord, that is for the technologist, means the diploma holder. The similar type of accord happens in 2002, that is named as Dublin Accord. It was for the ITI holder, we call as the technicians. Then there are a few more agreements related to the professional engineer. When we talk about Washington Accord, Sydney Accord, and Dublin Accord, they are related to the education system. When we talk about these agreements, IPEA, APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, IETA, AIET, and so these are related to the professional, you can say, exchange of the graduates. So that is what basically this particular arrangement is. And in Washington Accord, because this is the most famous one, there are now 21, you can say, signatory, and 7 of them are provisional member, because it is the practice that they basically first induct the provisional and then they go for giving the permanent. So I have to slightly finish my presentation quickly because I am supposed taking too much of time. So let me cut this thing short. So graduate attributes or attributes of any graduate, whatever may be the program, it is largely based on the knowledge, that is facts and concept, skill, that is the application of knowledge, and the attitude. And on the basis of these, you can say, graduate attributes, we call these that related to the clarity of focus, the first pillar of the outcome-based education. There are many other, when we go designing down, we have to have program educational objective, program and program specific outcome, course outcome, and so on and so forth. In our OBE, each and every activity should be defined by some outcome, and all these outcomes should be measurable. So for engineering, there are these 12 outcomes. They are available on any, you can say, platform. There are first five related to the knowledge, and the next there are 3 they're related to some ethical and skill, the other things, and the last one are the professional, you can say, attributes. Writing outcome is another important aspect, because when you are implementing outcome-based education into your system, then we have to write the outcome at different levels. Program outcome are standard. We can adopt the program outcomes if they are available on any standard, you can say, platform, as National Board of Accreditation, NBA, is the authentic platform for engineering, and the program outcomes are listed there. So likewise, we can have the standard programs outcome for other, you can say, programs as well. But otherwise also you have to write the outcome statement at number of places. So there are two basic theories which are popular for writing course outcome or the outcome statement. One is the Mager theory, another is the Anderson-Bloom theory. In any case, if we club these two theories, we can say that the outcome statement should have some common stem. It is the, I am talking about this commonly used the outcome statement. We should have some action that represent the activity the learner should perform indicated by the action verb. We should also have knowledge and some condition. The condition is not necessary, it is the optional thing, but other things are required for this. The sample statement we can skip. And for every these things, because the OBE talks about, you can say, inculcating the higher order thinking capability or skills in a professional, whether it is any type of professional, even if it is law professional or pharmacy professional or maritime professional or engineering professional. In all these cases, we have to prepare the professional for higher order thinking skills. So this is Bloom taxonomy level. This pyramid is the Bloom taxonomy pyramid. There are three skills: remembering, understanding, and applying. These we call group and the lots, that is lower order thinking skills, and analyzing, evaluating, rating our thoughts, that is higher order thinking skills. And the professional that we are producing, they should be good enough in higher order thinking skills, where they can analyze, evaluate, and create. So remembering, understanding, and applying, we are trying to make them obsolete. No doubt, at the back end, they should take backseat, rather not the obsolete. They should take backseat, and the horse should come at the, you can say, driving seat. So that is only possible through good assessment planning. So that is what basically the teacher role will be important. So this is, you can say, a chart which is, we are mapping the program outcome or the graduate attributes finally to the course outcome through different levels, so that we can evaluate this. Every assessment is to be mapped with some performance indicator. Every assessment or the questions, each question of the assessment is to be mapped with some course outcome, and each course outcome is to be mapped with some program outcome. And that is necessary for evaluating the attainment of the program outcome for each and every student. We focus on each and every student. So that is the flow diagram, which represent how we can, you can say, implement the things in practice. So it is a step-by-step process, but you can clearly see that it is the 4 pillars, that is the clarity of focus, designing down, and here is the teaching learning, that is the higher expectation and the expanded opportunities. So that is how we can implement. Again, this flow diagram can change a bit from, you can say, implementer to implementer, because it is a philosophy. So OB says that you say what you want, that is curriculum, do what you say is the delivery, prove it, the assessment, and improve it, the different bodies and feedback that basically will improve. So that is the complete OB cycle. Means for improving, we have to evaluate the attainment. So that is what. So benefits are very, very clear. That brings clarity among teachers and students, improvement in higher order thinking skill. Every student has flexibility and freedom for learning in their way. There is more than one method of learning, reduce the comparison, and so on and so forth. It can be endless. But the only thing which I say, implementing without implementation of OBE is complete only if we are evaluating the attainment, and then we are improving it year to year. So thank you very much for the patience listening. I may have overshoot some, maybe a good amount of time, so sorry for that. But the topic was that I have to. Thank you very much this is all from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vijay Kumar Jadon. This was truly very enlightening. We've been hearing a lot about outcome-based education, but the way you presented the framework, whether it was the 4 pillars, whether it was the mapping strategy, and not just the domestic linkage to NEP 2020, but also the international perspective on OBE. This was an excellent presentation. We thank you for your slides, also including your website ID, vijayonline.com. Surely a lot of participants are going to go on that and educate themselves on OBE and its framework. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm certain that a lot of participants will have a lot to discuss with you in the Q&A. Going forward, we are now going into the main event of the day, the group discussion and the panelists. But before I hand over to the moderator for this panelist, I would need to read out his CV. Now that task is a formality because the moderator for the next event is so well known that me doing this task for the next 5 minutes has as much value as a lifeguard has in the Birmingham Commonwealth Games swimming events. So it's a mere formality, but I have to introduce now somebody who, it would be a cliche for me to say, needs no introduction in the maritime industry. I would be welcoming Captain Shiv Halbe to take over. A very quick, he shared 2 lines asking me to keep it short. I will keep it short in 4 lines. Captain Halbe, within a couple of years, will be finishing his golden jubilee of association in the Merchant Navy, which means he has spent more time in this industry than I have on this planet. He is from the 74-76 T.S. Rajendra batch with his sailing tenure with Scindia Steam Navigation. In 92, which means 30 years ago, he shifted ashore as a superintendent with Denom. In those 30 years, he's moved through various roles, including being involved in 3 startups. He was the managing director before the current position he holds for the company he served nearly a decade. And now he is, of course, CEO of MASA. And that allows us to work with him and gain from his experience closer. Another aspect of him and where we use his guidance beyond the fact that he is MTG mentor founder is he is also a fellow and warden of the Company of Master Mariners of India, and also his fellowship with the Nautical Institute. And after the event, he is going to reprimand me for bringing this up because it was not part of the CV he gave me. But I also have to add that he has also been awarded the Kashti Ratna, the Jewel of Shipping Award in 2019. It was Maddox-based event by the then Union Minister of Shipping, Shri Mansukh Mandavia. So handing over to Captain Shiv Halbe, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chirag. That was indeed unexpected. And after 2 power-packed speeches and presentation, one by Dr. Shankar and the other by Dr. Jadhav, I think the task has been cut out for the next segment as to what will be expected by the audience today. We have a power-packed panel. With the panelists are who's who, and these are the type of people I would go miles to listen to. We have Mr. Jagmeet Makkar, Captain Mahesh Yadav, Mr. Jasjeet Singh, and Mr. David Birwadkar. I will introduce Mr. Jagmeet Makkar first. He is the IM Institute of Marine Engineers of India chair at the Indian Maritime University. He's a shipping expert with extensive knowledge and experience spanning 40 years in commercial and technical shipping. Presently, he contributes to the maritime industry as an expert witness, practicing arbitrator, consultant, and an educator. And most importantly, he's passionate about what he does. So without much ado, can we listen to Mr. Jagmeet Makkar for the next 3-4 minutes? All the panelists will get an opportunity to speak independently for 3 to 4 minutes, after which we will head into the question answer sessions. So over to you, Jagmeet.
Thank you, Captain Alve. Thank you very much. My greetings to Dr. Malini V. Shankar, Vice Chancellor, Indian Maritime University, Dr. Vijay Jadon, Dean Academics of Chitkara University, and all the participants. Congratulations to all the Gurujans on the 11th Foundation Day of the Maritime Trainers Guild, MTG. And my thanks to MTG and Captain Prabhat Nigam for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts on this topic. In view of limited time, I would like to catch the bull by horn and come straight to the points. We have problems, both quantitative and qualitative. And I'm going to divide the training and trainers into 3 segments and then address each very briefly because the requirements may vary. Pre-sea, post-sea, and shore-based career progression. Now, training for the shipboard career requires specific attributes and values. We must not forget these while imparting training in our respective institutions. Discipline, respecting the chain of command, understanding the importance of teamwork, communication skills, and most importantly, mutual respect and empathy. How many of our trainers themselves have gone through effective soft skills training and have acquired a reasonable understanding of emotional skills? While domain knowledge, of course, is very crucial, the skills that I have mentioned are equally, if not more, important. Ask any employer, they will put more emphasis on values like loyalty, positive attitude, and passion for the chosen career. Only when the trainers themselves have, or rather are soaked, absolutely soaked in this value system, will they be able to help deliver the outcomes that the industry needs. Coming to the post-sea training demands, now that becomes a little different. So you need to have more critical analytical skills, deeper understanding through case study models, discussions amongst other students, and with the trainer acting more as a coach and a guide rather than classroom sketch and describe. So these are the students who have the contemporary experience of latest technology. The trainers ashores themselves must appreciate this fact and indulge in learning, actively learning from the students. It has to go mutual. Now, coming to the shore-based career progression, the first step is preparing the seafarers for this transition. This is where the industry specialists come in. If there is a question during the webinar later on, I would be delighted to speak more about the third part. Now, briefly, how do we achieve all this above? I made a long menu list there. So how do we achieve this? Now, I'm a very strong proponent of passion. You have heard Captain Shiv Halbe's last 2 sentences, who's very passionate about training. So I'm a very strong proponent of passion because a trainer's passion has direct influence on students' passion, students' motivation, and the outcome. And training is not one-way traffic. Oscar Wilde once said, everyone who is incapable of training, rather listen to this is very interesting. Everyone who is incapable of learning has taken to teaching. That was the opinion of the people at that time. I'm sure this was said in a very skeptical way. I believe good trainers or teachers are first seekers of knowledge and are lifelong learners. And especially in today's environment with device distractions. Earlier, Dr. Malini talked about the attention span and the focus. So all these device distractions, the focus span, concentration span is progressively diminishing. It is a challenge to employ trainers with contagious positivity to keep these students motivated and engaged. How do we find such trainers? Lastly, we must exploit the modern technology through a close collaboration between the institutions. For example, the resource accessibility through common learning management systems and faculty sharing, say through online lectures, deliberations, debates, case studies, etc. Finally, let us not forget the Maritime India Vision 2030, or now MIV 2047 objectives, and these can only be met if this collaboration becomes a way of life and the domain expertise delivered by motivated and passionate trainers is made available to students, cutting across institutions, cutting across those boundaries. And the challenge is, how do we attract passionate trainers into our maritime training domain? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jagmeet. We will definitely listen more from you. And you have rightly touched upon student engagement as well as teacher passion. I think they will go hand in hand. On an off note, I was reading something about the learned mathematician or a great mathematician almost 900 years ago called Bhaskaracharya. He is the one who wrote Lilavati and Bijganit, which is algebra. And he has written, there was an anecdote in which the student actually asked Bhaskaracharya that we are your students and why are you giving us examples on monkeys on a tree throwing apples down the tree or mangoes down the tree? And he said, look, you are paying attention to what I'm doing. So it's very critical. Our next speaker is, Viraf has been my guiding light in what I'm going to say now. Our next speaker needs no introduction. If there is anything in the rules about maritime education and training, we don't need to read the rules. We just have to go to Captain Yadav to find out what it actually says and how it is to be enforced. So without much ado, I will briefly mention that Captain Yadav belongs to the training ship Rajendra batch 75-76, and he joined Shipping Corporation of India. He in his various qualifications, he obtained the extra master's certificate and was teaching on deputation from Shipping Corporation on the Rajendra and LBS College. In 1999, he joined FOSMA as a director of Maritime Education and Training, and is still the incumbent there. Of note is that he has been awarded the Exemplary Teacher Award by the National Maritime Day about a decade ago, and very much well deserved. Over to you, Captain Yadav.
Thank you, Captain Halbe. Good morning to everyone. Respected Dr. Malini Shankar, Dr. Jadon, our fellow panelists, and all the persons present here. I'm going to keep it very, very elementary, and probably there are no marks for guessing why do I keep it so elementary. The topic is, what do we look for in a good, or what makes a good maritime teacher? We'll stick to maritime because I don't have any experience of any other field. So I just jotted down a few small things. They may sound very basic, but then there are reasons to be listing down these things. First thing that we would look for, which was also hinted in the earlier by the earlier panelist, is general academic brilliance. If the person has been academically good or better, let's put it like this, during his school, college, and the rest of the things which you have everything available in the CVs presented, does not guarantee, but more likely is bound to become a better, again, I will stick to maritime teacher. Second thing is something which is very, very important. We can't miss that out. You can have anything and everything. The primary item that is required is, do you know the subject that you teach? I'm not talking about other subjects. If you are dealing with, let us say, navigation for that matter, at least that navigation function subjects, do you know them well? Do you have mastery over those subjects? Whether you have about others or not, I'm not really deeply concerned about that. But at least the subject that you take on for teaching, do you have mastery over that? Then only you can do any justice to the students to whom you are teaching. The subject delivery in a manner that can reach out to the weakest students and therefore keep it as simple as possible. There are no medals to be given to any teachers for displaying, the extent of knowledge what they have. What matters is what you deliver in a simple manner so that it can reach out to the weakest of the person. Otherwise, you're not achieved what you set up to achieve. Initially, start the topic from very, very basics, elementary school level things. Don't ever assume that student has already learned this in 10th or 12th or BE or wherever. And or at second mates level. So therefore you start, straight off with the chief mates work and things like that. And other than very, very elementary things like, basic mathematics or basic physics, I don't think anything else should actually be assumed when we start our topics at various levels. What the teacher has drawn on the board, now when I use the word board, it includes, black or green or gray or white. And also it includes the LCD screen or, that earlier days that overhead projector screens, or even the whiteboard, which is shown over here in this, on the Zoom platform, or any other method, whether it is a smart board or is it a non-smart board. What the teacher has drawn on the board, whether it's an outline diagram, it's a sketch, can the student draw that themselves in the class? So for that, the first thing will be that that outline has to be drawn by the teacher and not shown by the teacher. And then whether the student is able to perform that in the class, because finally he has to do that when he goes for the examination. And right now I'm only sticking to the written examination. We can have a separate seminar on the oral examination. That's a very different subject. What derivation or numerical or any calculation done by the teacher, first he must do it. If he does not do it, he is not doing justice to the students. Can the students derive, calculate the same or similar problem themselves in the class? Concentrate on the last benchers, ask them questions in the class, ask them to repeat, narrate what they have understood. And now when I say last benchers, just in lighter vein and without trying to offend anybody, on training ship Dufferin and Rajendra, the classes used to be divided in the alphabetical order of the surnames. So the class 1 will be from surname A to whatever the total capacity is, and so on and so forth. So if that method is followed, when I use the word backbenchers, which means concentrate on the last alphabets of the surnames, maybe U, V, W, Y, etc., etc. So the front benchers will learn in any case, but the actual job is what is being understood by the last benches. And anything which is to be done or performed within the class, make those last benchers perform that. The first fellow sitting over there will get up and say, yes, I can draw this or I can do this. That is not the objective. Pre-C students in particular, I had my first experience of walking into the training ship where I was trained myself after 13 years. And the pre-C students, and though that was a training ship, in today's date, we have no training ship. The pre-C students need very special attention because they need to be able to visualize in the shore-based academies now that what are we talking about? Even when we say a cross-section or any drawing or a profile view or any other topic, the people in the pre-C institutes, in the absence of the, anything related to what we can actually show them by taking the round, the training ship or a sailing training ship, all that does not exist. And they need to be able to visualize what the teacher is trying to demonstrate. And finally, outcome is what matters, not what the teacher knows, not what efforts the teacher has put in, not what he has delivered. Outcome is the students' proficiency in the topic and subjects covered and their ability to perform what the teacher aimed at. And last line, at the end of it, what the teacher will receive is self-satisfaction, sometimes little appreciation or admiration, but a very good sleep at night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain Yadav, for keeping it very basic. And I think you fully supported the excellent presentation made by Dr. Jadhav about outcome-based education. Finally, the student must be able to do what he's supposed to do. The whole objective of the exercise. We will, of course, get back to you because you did mention about what the teacher will get, and you omitted, I don't know whether consciously or unconsciously, the vitamin M. Let us talk about that also. Our next speaker is Mr. David Birwadkar, and he is presently an advisor and head of the Great Eastern Institute of Maritime Studies. Before this, David has had various ascending roles and vast experience in technical management and development of personnel as head of the technical team of Great Eastern. I will not get into more because we would rather hear David speak his thoughts rather than read his biodata. David, if you don't mind, I will stop here and we would rather listen to you. Please.
No, please. I really don't want to be embarrassed. We have such learned luminaries here that will only be embarrassing me if go on talking about my CV. So thank you so much. First of all, my heartiest congratulations to the MTG for the 11th anniversary. And I think it's a job well done. Lots to be done yet, but I'm sure they are on the right path and we are all there to support you all. Dr. Malini Shankar, Dr. Vijay Jadon, good afternoon. And I think excellent presentations and speeches, very, very enlightening, very, very relevant. And I think a lot of takeaways from there for all of us to implement, use, and also probably look at in retrospect and see what we can do to better the maritime training systems, education, and how we have better cadets going out to sea and then subsequently becoming better officers. Also, good afternoon to all my panelists and ladies and gentlemen. So basically, what I want to talk about is not something which we all don't know. I mean, it's everybody knows, but the relevance of it cannot be denied. And also the fact that we need not only one aspect of it, but every aspect of this to be fulfilled for really making maritime education very successful, or for making cadets coming out to be very good products so that they man our ships and with the highest level of competency. So, I mean, for me, what determines that is a training institute with the requisite infrastructure, equipment, and of course, congenial atmosphere, a good course content duly developed over a period of time, and students with adequate core competency, basic knowledge, and a desire to learn. Of course, adequately qualified trainers who constantly enhance and enrich their knowledge and are adaptable to using modern teaching techniques along with traditional and time-tested ones. Because ultimately, we know the time-tested ones like practical training, on-the-job training, etc., are very, very important. But mixed with that, the new what pandemic has taught us, the online training, the use of the VR, the use of the rampant use of simulators. I think we all can profess that these are very, very effective means of training and can only enhance the traditional training techniques to make the output much more better. Again, what is more important is for the ability of the trainer to ensure that what is taught is well grasped by the students. And because we know that a teacher can have all the credentials, but if the deliverance is not effective enough, then also we have failed in ensuring that the standard of teaching is of a high level. The trainer should always have a plan B, I think, in case plan A or the traditional methodology of teaching is not working. So that he should be able to get the pulse, when he's teaching, that, okay, are the students getting it, what he's teaching, 100%, 50%, 60%, whatever, and they'll probably be ready to adapt a new way of teaching, which is to be in his grasp, or which he should know that how it should be done. And most importantly, it is very essential that the teacher is passionate about teaching and does not just teach merely as a profession. He should be he should love teaching from the core of his heart. Let me talk a little bit more about passion. I mean, that's something which is, I think it's a very, very misguided kind of a norm given to things. But what is passion? It has a motivating factor. So it is significantly required for a high quality teaching. Passionate teachers, they create effective learning environments. They endeavor to increase learning potential of the students. They make a huge difference regarding effective learning of the learner. Passion based on commitment is at the heart of effective teaching, as I feel. For this reason, passionate teachers can create excitement that probably influences learning. The link between learning and education argues that all pedagogical approaches fail unless passion is created in the classroom. What happens? Passionate teachers, they like their job. Obviously, they're doing it because they love what they're doing, and that's why they're there. And unlike some who are just there to take it as an alternate profession because they have already done enough, so they take it up as a job which will pay them money and probably let them carry on with their life requirements or the routine requirements. So passionate teachers, apart from liking their job, they are aware of the effect of passion on student success. The influence of passion for learning and teaching is absolutely indisputable. And for this reason, passionate teachers always put efforts to increase student achievement. I think the passionate teachers are the people who truly believe that teaching energizes them compared with those who have lost faith and put less effort into the job. An enthusiastic teacher, I think, can also encourage students and turn them into passionate individuals themselves to achieve more successful outcomes. Again, passionate teachers are very strongly committed to that work, and so they will keep on updating themselves. They'll keep on making sure that what they teach is effective, and also self-learning is a constant mode for them. And that automatically inspires the students and awaken their desire to learn. I think the second part is, of course, continuous development of academic and professional knowledge for a trainer. Continuous development has the potential to expand individual skill sets, enhance knowledge retention, I think generate new ideas and perspectives, boost morale and raise overall performance. It can help in achieving career development goals, obtaining or updation of professional licenses or certification, because that is also a requirement, explore new perspectives to approach work, and maintain a marketable professional skill set. I think continuous development of knowledge is the process of acquiring new skills and knowledge continually over time. I think we can never say that we know enough, and with whatever we have, we can teach. I think it's definitely required to continually upgrade and upgrade our skills and our knowledge set. Then learning new things gives us a feeling of accomplishment, which in turn boosts our confidence in our own capabilities. And acquiring new skills will unveil new opportunities and help to find innovative solutions to problems. And I think it also helps to develop both personally and professionally. And obviously, there is a scope for opening new opportunities so that you can achieve your full potential. I think the last aspect for me, which is important, is academic delivery quality check. Academic quality check is a way of describing how well the learning opportunities available to students help them to achieve their award. Like, it is also making sure that appropriate and effective teaching, support, assessment, and learning opportunities are provided for them. In the field of education, the major quality indicators such as curriculum design, curriculum transaction, evaluation system, R&D, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, organization and management, etc., have been identified. I think there is a lot more we can say about how we can check academic delivery, but I think we can also do it as part of our discussions. So I think that's basically what I need to talk about, saying that these are something which are essential if you really have to look at how we can improve the quality of teaching and training in our maritime institutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David, for your thoughts. I'm sure we will get back to you during our discussion on this topic. The last, but definitely not the least, panelist is Mr. Jasjeet Suri, and easily the youngest one. And who says teaching is not a profession for the young? Jasjeet started his ex-DMET 1995 batch. This is the period when most of the other speakers were ashore already as superintendents or teachers. And he joined Ireland. In 2006, he passionately undertook the role of a trainer when Ireland Shipping appointed him as a training chief engineer. And this role actively involved conducting in-house and onboard training. Again, I will compress the CV because we would rather hear Jasjeet. But importantly, he is a motivational speaker who has conducted various free workshops for schools and colleges to enhance quality of teaching and learning. And for this, he has been felicitated with the Mayor's Award in 2019. Congratulations, Jasjeet. Congratulations, indeed. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Captain Albe, for your kind words. It's really an honor for me, to be here speaking among such esteemed panelists with Dr. Malini Shankar ma'am herself here, with Dr. Jadhav. I mean, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Like you said, I'm much, much younger than you guys, smart and handsome. Anyway, so let me bring a fresh, view towards training as I see it. Believe me, each of the panelists have covered everything, leaving nothing for me to speak. But now let's look at it from a different aspect. Yeah, just to get an idea of how we can further move on. Like Captain Halve said, I was a training chief engineer. Amazing job. I was going on board, troubleshooting, training people. It was a beautiful experience. Lovely. And then 2 years back, Captain Nigam gave me a chance, and here I was at Chitkara, totally excited and passionate. Okay, now a trainer, lovely, I can do it. Believe me, I got the shock of my life. Because teaching pre-sea and teaching on board are completely different aspects. What I want to get here is, when we teachers train, we really have to take care of our audience. We have to understand where the audience stands. It's only then we can become good teachers. So it's not just about what we teach, but also about how we teach it. And for that, I may be a passionate teacher, but the first class Captain Nigam attended of mine, he had 10 points to tell me which were wrong. Has to be, I believe even the most passionate teacher needs another pair of eyes to look at him. What I'm getting at is, we have such amazing procedures for feedbacks, for, monitoring. It is very important. So when, let's say, like we have an academic delivery quality check, we all MTIs can work on certain patterns where every faculty member, when he does a class, at least once in a semester or once in 3 months, somebody attends his lecture, and attending it in a very unbiased manner, he points out the strong points, the weak points, so that, the teacher can get a chance to improve. Every course has feedback from cadets, right? We have to encourage the cadets or the candidates to give very honest feedbacks. And just don't take it as blaming or pointing fingers. When we look at these feedbacks, when we look at these feed from other people, if we can incorporate innovative ideas, like let's say buddy system, I may be great at delivering, but terrible at teaching material. Another person may be great at preparing teaching material, but not so good at delivering. When we faculty members start budding up and start helping each other with our weaknesses and strengths, we can go to the next level. So effectively in this whole discussion, I believe we can have the most amazing procedures, we can have the most amazing rules, but till monitoring does not go on, till action from our own heart towards improvement doesn't go on, we as faculty really cannot grow and reach the next level. It's only when we reach the next level, we will take our cadets and our candidates to the next level. And I came into this line, believe me, young, like Captain Halve said, to make a difference in the marine world. We are the best. Indians really are the best. I have worked with all nationalities. Believe me, I've trained Italians. They are horrible. Huh? I don't want to say that though. Indians are really good, ready to learn. So if we faculty members can become strong, if we can go in the right direction, we can take our boys along. I think that's all I can say. Captain Halve, I hand over the mic back to you. And I think let's take the decision forward and see how best we can, increase the capability of trainers and training.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jasjit. It is, from your little talk, it is very obvious that you're very serious and passionate about what you do. And that's a good starting point. Now, that's a good starting point. You must first like what you do. You can get the knowledge, but you must like it first. I'm going to start the discussion with what Captain Yadav briefly touched upon, that you must know the subject that you are going to teach. It doesn't matter whether you know too much about other subjects or not, but be master of what you're going to teach. Does it then make a case that just as in the shore establishment, I'm using the word establishment very generally, we have the universities, the government universities have the NET and the SET, the National Eligibility Test and the State Eligibility Test, whereby the teacher is sort of qualified only to teach the subjects in which they have passed those tests. Should we then look at something like that for our academies, and I'm now limiting myself to the academies which have the DG's approval to conduct the courses that they do conduct? Can I start this by asking Captain Yadav to make a comment, and then of course it's open for the other panelists to comment upon?
Yes, absolutely true, provided we have the availability of the ex-seafarers opting for the teaching profession. So if the requirement is there, and if you have a let us say 30 applications for 2 posts and something like that, which normally people would like to have while making a selection, in that case certainly yes, of course, but that is not the reality. We have to live with the real world. And till that time, I will go by the qualifications and and the subject matter knowledge acquired by the people during their pre-sea training and their second mate and master's course, and similarly for the engineering discipline itself. So yes, when we can afford to have that kind of supply-demand situation, we certainly can look at that part of it. But till the time, we have to trust our COCs and the subjects knowledge what they have acquired. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to comment on this? Any of the panelists?
Well, like Captain Yadav said, it's all about supply, demand and supply, which at this moment doesn't look so good, where we can have exams and select. But like I was talking in my 3-4 minutes, maybe a regular academic delivery quality check system, maybe once in 3 months or 6 months, by the director, by the principal, by somebody who's designated to do it, would still be a good idea, so that we can keep improving. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But this then begs the question that, are we then going to operate on an ever-decreasing circle, spiral downwards? Is that what we will operate at because of lack of availability? Or is there a collective responsibility? Captain Yadav talked about about certain attributes for teacher. And I'm going to go back to Mr. Jagmeet to ask him that engagement of a student is important, but so is engagement of a teacher is important. You mentioned briefly on this. But when we talk of student and teacher engagement, isn't adequate remuneration one of the attributes of engagement? You just can't keep giving such small sums of money that being at sea is just too lucrative not to step ashore.
Thanks, Captain Albe. Now, I'm not going to give you a very straightforward answer, so allow me a couple of minutes to maybe give it in a right perspective as I feel. Training or teaching may be termed as, or rather is termed as, a passionate profession. Passion comes first. That is so very important. And the employers, they simply cannot expect these gems, the great teachers who have got the passion. Now, I'm already taking into account that those gems already have the domain knowledge that Captain Yadav mentioned. But anything you may have, but if you're not able to put it across, as Jasjeet mentioned, how to do it, how to deliver, how to carry your participants, your students with you. The passion which I feel is that fire within you to motivate and bring the people along with you and learn together. That is what, in my opinion, the thing is. But having such people, do we expect them to work for free? See, that's a very big question. Oh, you're very passionate, I'm giving you an opportunity, right? You must be thankful to me. Rather, you should pay me because I'm giving you the opportunity to fulfill your passion. It doesn't work. If a person is passionate about it, if a person knows that he is good in delivering what he's doing, he has an opportunity cost. He has other jobs. He has other people similar people who are employed elsewhere. So we need to look at 2-3 things very clearly. Number one, passionate teachers need to pay bills. Passionate people need to raise children, have a family, buy saris for their wives. All right, all these things are so very important. However, at the same time, we need to have these people to be compared with like other similar employed, coming from the ship, coming from other professions and working in our profession. So I would say that yes, remuneration, a reasonable remuneration. Not only that, but also you need recognition, which is so very important. If you take a master mariner or chief engineer and you make him the so-called assistant professor or a lecturer in a university, of course he's not going to like it. Why should he be working for you? If you're not paying that person sufficient, why would he look at his equivalent superintendent or marine superintendent working elsewhere? So that's another thing. And third thing is, for such people, we must have a career plan, a growth plan. Because now, whatever teachers are there and whatever students are there, they are not like us, right? We had an easier time compared to what these people are going to have. You got so many disruptions coming up. You got amazing amount of changes which are coming up. We are talking about autonomous ships. We are talking about digitalization, decarbonization, EEXIs and the CIIs, and this is only the beginning. So it is so very important for our teachers to continue to grow. That continuous development, microcredit courses, cross-faculty training, cross-functional training. If you and me are working in one university, you're teaching a subject as a professor in another discipline, I should be very free to go and sit in your class and learn from you. I mean, that openness, that mindset, like a green pasture of knowledge, I think that is something very, very important, sir. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
add
you.
to this?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so actually I'll touch on basically both the questions or both the topics which we spoke about just now. One is about, you're talking about selective teaching, teaching subjects of where you have domain expertise. Now let's look at a practical scenario. Okay, most of the institutes are not really IMUs, they are the private institutes from where products are coming out. DG norms are 18 hours per week for teaching faculty. There is a number of hours and the course contents for every batches. Everybody works backwards, saying that, okay, this guy can teach 18 hours, the other faculty will teach 18 hours, etc., etc. So how many faculty members do I need to make up my complement? So, okay, 12 or 13. And that's how it works. And then you don't look at, okay, he will teach this subject or he will teach that subject. I think for that, the thinking has to be changed overall, not only by us talking here, but probably overall from I think every all the stakeholders, I mean, DG shipping, government, everybody will have to butt in to probably look at this aspect, because it's serious aspect. If you say 18 hours, people are doing it that way, that 18 hours is allowed. Okay, let me use him to the maximum. I don't care whether his domain knowledge is nautical, egg desk, or ship. I mean, what do you call it? The practical training of shipbuilding or whatever else is there.
Yeah.
And it all is used that, okay, he can teach a subject, he's qualified to teach a subject. Let us do that. Secondly, when you talk about remuneration and for passionate teachers, I first of all, let me be humble by saying that I don't know how many passionate teachers are really there in the industry who are actually teaching at the moment. We find most of them are a lot where they are 60 plus, because DG allows up to 70 years of age. They are agreeable to come at a very, very competitive price. So if people are running a commercial setup as an institute, then they're going to take them rather than prefer the passionate ones, because ultimately what happens is that they look at it also as if not a profit making, at least a self-sustaining institute, not having to give in money from the parent company or whatever. So that is something which has to be looked at overall, whether the incentives can be given by government for all these things, etc., etc. So then the salaries can be increased, because otherwise what happens, I will tell you, benchmarking is done. Okay, this institute is doing better because they are getting the professors at this level or faculty at this level. Let me pay a little bit more and get them. So it's not really about paying them or enhancing their career, because again, in teaching, how much can a career be enhanced? There's very limited. You can go from, as Jagmeet says, maybe cross faculty, maybe cross functional, or go to vice principal, head of the institute. There is very little you can have scope as promotion basis. I mean, unlike a corporate or a shipping company itself. So that are all the challenges which are there, whereby though we would want to have passionate teachers, but to get them, there is a whole lot of process change which will have to happen to basically achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That thought actually brings me a thought. We see so many advertisements attracting, I'm very careful in using the word, gullible to the merchant navy. You will become a captain in 10 years and you will earn $10,000, etc., with a beautiful cruise ship. And we see these advertisements. Why is it that we don't see any advertisements for attracting faculty? Again, the word is attracting faculty, not advertising for faculty. We don't see that. Well, why? Where is the industry failing in that?
Sir, I'll just start maybe with 30 seconds and then I'll leave it. Where is the industry failing in it is when people want to come ashore, they definitely look around what's going on. And a couple of talks with some friends they will have, and they will come to know, hey, how much you get paid for doing this? Are you doing it part-time or full-time? Are you a contract professor or a full-time professor? So that itself, the word of mouth and the practical situation which is going on, either it can act as a deterrent or it can act as a promotion. So I hope I have answered your question in the few seconds that I wanted to.
Thank you.
I see Captain Nigam has his hand up, sir. Captain Nigam has his hand up.
I have seen that. I will go to him, but this specific subject, because he had the hand up when I started the question. So I think it is not about this question, but yes, Captain Nigam, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to add to some of the challenges with Mr. David raised. And I've noted them down, and point-wise I'll answer, because I may have a solution to those challenges. The first one was working backwards about 18 hours and extracting the maximum out of the person as per the allowed 18 hours. तो वेदर उसको सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाना आता है या नहीं आता है, उसको सब्जेक्ट पकड़ा दिया कि भाई 18 घंटे तुमको पूरे करने हैं, एंड दैट विल जस्टिफाई योर सैलरी. There is a solution to this. Without taking name, let me say that I have an engineer in engineering faculty, and today I am doing only BSc Nautical Science course. So that engineering faculty may be limited to teaching stability or ship construction. However, that works out to maybe only 12 hours. However, if he is assigned some multitasking, like a QHSC manager, that justifies his salary. So multitasking, introduction of multitasking, because there are so many other things other than teaching when an institute is being run. So that is one solution which I can recommend. The other is whether you know that person can teach navigation or stability or construction and you're just loading him in with it. Why not try it out? Transfer it out. Master Mariner certificate of competency, he has done all the subjects and he has passed in all the functions. Similarly, a chief engineer has done MEO class 1, he has passed in all the subjects. Maybe he doesn't like to teach navigation. Maybe he likes to teach meteorology. Maybe he likes to teach general ship knowledge. So as the head of the institution, it is our duty to extract, first of all, to explore the talent, and then to extract whatever maximum you can take from that person in a passionate way which he can deliver. The third question you said was there is very limited scope of promotion in teaching. Sir, I beg to differ here. There is a lot of scope in this particular training profession, provided we step into R&D. When we go into research and development, when we are writing books, when we are patenting our whatever we have found, there is a lot of development. There is international exposure, which we have not yet tasted. But I can see it in the university where I work, how teachers have progressed, how they go on international tours, how they are paid in dollars when they go to for international tours, how they get international recognitions, and they are visiting professors in so many other universities, including Dr. Jadhav, who is there with us. So there is a lot of scope. Thank you so much, sir.
Can I just respond a little bit, not respond, but may probably add on to what you said?
Yes, sir.
Captain Nigam, I totally agree with what you said. And in fact, that's the way it should be going forward. But the thing is that it's not done that way. Now you look at it's 18 hours. A total 40 hours per week are being done by the faculty members, right? 18 hours is teaching, and then there are other hours, because 8 hours per day into 5 is 40 hours. So then the other time, 22 hours, is where he works as a QHC manager and does other things, assessment, etc., etc. So that's how it is squeezed. I'm just giving the practical aspect of things, how it happens there, and not really about how it should be done, because I agree that it should be done this way, but that's the way it is done, and that's the issue which I'm trying to raise, rather than saying that it's the right way to do it. So that's something which I thought I will highlight. And also, if you mentioned that about that second was about that passion, right? You said that
exploring the potential.
Yeah, no. So again, there I was mentioning that in a particular institute, say if you're continuing the same institute, like R&D requires a lot of capital to be put in. Now, how many companies really happy to put it there? I know 2 institutes in Maharashtra who are doing it. I know Samudra does it, Tolani is doing it. And in fact, IMEI is supporting Tolani in that. Now, recently, they have signed an MOU. So again, I mean, I'm not going to get into really a lot of details, but even we have looked at that. But they say, what are you going to gain from it? Are we going to get a good branding? Are we going to get good exposure? What's going to happen? Is it going to help us make products which we can be patented and use on our ships? So, everybody looks at the commercial aspect rather than looking at R&D as something which can enhance the knowledge of the faculty also, the students also, etc., etc. What I'm saying is that the thinking needs to be changed rather than, I mean, there are avenues available, but the thinking is not there at the moment. That's the issue. Thank you.
Is it?
I think Dr. Malini Shankar has got a lot of views on this. I have spoken to her before on this, and okay, rightly enough, she has raised her hand also. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm just going to respond to, first of all, to the need, looking for money. I think if you're looking for money, just don't look at teaching. Just don't look at teaching, because this is about molding young minds. This is about making contribution to the sector. This is like, you know, when you get into the civil services, if you're looking at money, just stay out of it. I'm going to share one small experience of what you should be looking for. As DG shipping, I remember, you know, there were hurdles to my, actually, I should have been in London representing the country in the IMO, but there were hurdles there. So I sat down and looked at the, you know, e-governance part of it as to how to hasten and ease of doing business for the seafarer in terms of, you know, how easily they can get, for example, the COC renewed. So this was behind, we had to do a lot of hard work, which never gets recognized. So there is no money and there is no recognition, okay? Very many fields are like that. It's only the corporate field where you get both money and recognition, perhaps. But then I had to fly down to Chennai for a personal visit. It was a condolence visit. And I remember somebody coming to me and saying in that meeting, in that milieu, and saying, you don't know me, but I know you. I'm a seafarer who's serving in Andamans and Nicobar. And what used to, the COC renewal used to take a huge number of visits and time. I had to go to the MMD, then I had to go to the syndicate bank, I had to pay the money, then I had to take, you know, and several visits of pursuing the case. It says now I've got it in 72 hours flat, and I think I'd like to really appreciate what DG Shipping is doing. Now that is your recognition. Mr. Makkar, that is the recognition. It will never be money in this sector. It will perhaps recognition in terms of awards might come once in a while, but there are many fields, and this is one of them where you have to look at what you know, what is recognition, what is satisfaction, what is a reward. The second point I'd like to make very shortly is, you know, the number of hours of teaching. It's like, you know, in an office, you can sit in office for 9 hours and do nothing in an administrative office. You can teach 18 hours and nothing goes through to the student. It's not, it's number of hours is important because that is a parameter that is stressed upon by regulations, right? But what you transmit and how you transmit in that 18 hours is what is more important. And I have seen teachers brilliantly doing that. And there are teachers, I'm talking from my own experience, which I remember from my college days, where teachers would come sit on a high school and actually read out the textbook. If you're going to do that, then there is no transmission of knowledge, and you can teach for 50 hours and still not get anything. And then there were other teachers who said, okay, I still remember the teacher saying, this is the curriculum syllabus we'll cover during this semester, but I will cover only 50% and you shall cover 50%. You meant all of us students in high school. So we used to go and sit in the British Council library, which was an excellent source, and say, okay, if I'm going to stand on the podium and teach my own classmates, which is actually more challenging than teaching your students, then you come up with, you actually do extra work. So the teacher is not doing that kind of work. It can be logged in as teaching because they're definitely guiding, but you are doing the learning. And this was 35 years ago in school. Now, those are the kind of things that I would expect a teacher in today's world to adapt, adopt, and implement. If you're still looking at just classroom teaching, we will not be going very far ahead. The learning process can be stimulated, guided by very many different methods. And that's where the teachers are perhaps lacking this skill. A third point, and I'll stop here, is perhaps this is just I'm just doing thinking, is when a teacher teaches the up to school level, they go through a B.Ed program. However good or however weak that program is, they are taught the principles of teaching. You know, how do you address the students? What kind of methods do you use? But we do not have any regulated courses for teaching college students, for teaching higher education students. Maybe that's where MPG can step in and have a framework where you say, okay, let's step in and see what are the pedagogic methods that are available, because a teacher might be, better at delivering a case study rather than doing classroom teaching. Somebody might be doing classroom teaching better. And then the last point is evaluation. I find that the method of evaluation, testing and evaluation is primitive. I'm sorry, I'm making a considered statement. It's quite primitive, which means I will put something into your head during the classroom and you take it and put it out on the exam paper at the end of it. And then you can ask our fellow industry people how they fare in the interviews. I don't have to elaborate on that. That is what we have to break. Get them to think, get them to think critically and contribute. So number of, because I started with money, recognition, number of hours is necessary but not sufficient. I can go on this, but I'll stop.
Ma'am, when we started with this topic, we knew this was a hot topic and that it will involve and it will invoke a number of responses and a number of varied responses that too. The fact also, one of the challenges which was expressed earlier has been the huge gap in demand and supply. That you can make a lot of rules if you have a lot of people doing that. But if you make a lot of rules and nobody comes in, then it defeats the purpose of making the rules. So we have to be careful in that. At the same time, I think we have missed out on mentioning one thing, that the institutes, when they are set up, they write the mission and vision document only to satisfy somebody, but not necessarily to actually meet those objectives. And they need to do that. And somewhere the audit must carry that. Captain Nigam, I know you're shaking your head. I will give you a list of institutes which do know nothing of the sort. So let's not get into this. And I'm talking from position of knowing what I'm saying, and I'm just not shooting in the dark. Maybe your institute doesn't do that. And you gave examples of that. I would like to draw your attention to a document which is a Gazette notification published, which says that if you're an assistant professor, and you want to move up in life, what are the targeted achievements? It lists out the number of hours, the number of papers that have to be published, the subjects in which they have to be published, the number of lectures you have to attend as a teacher outside the university curriculum. It states all of that. And frankly, if you follow all of that, you will have a good teacher, because finally it's a product. So you will have one. That is certainly there. I want to ask the organizers one thing. We are already at 1:10, and our event was supposed to be 1100 hours to 1300 hours. Should we continue? Because I have a question here.
Yes, sir. We can continue for another 10 minutes.
Okay. I have a question here from
Mr. Natarajan.
Natarajan, yes.
Yes.
That's I was about to say.
Arvind Natarajan. He has raised his hand.
So can somebody unmute Arvind, please? Oh, there he is. Yes. Please go ahead and keep it as a question. You can't be unmuted. 1 minute. I think you are unmuted, no?
You can unmute him. Let me try.
I can't. I could not.
Gulshan, can you unmute?
Yes, sir. I just
Unmute everyone.
No. Okay. Here's a new. Yes, Arvind.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I just wanted to second the views expressed by
Arvind. Sorry to butt in. First, introduce yourself, please.
Right. Sorry about that. My name is Arvind Natarajan, and I'm working with the International Chamber of Shipping in London. And I represent ship owners at the IMO during their Maritime Safety Committee and Maritime Environment Protection Committee. I represent ship owners at the IMO at that level. I wanted to express my opinion about what Captain Nigam and Dr. Shankar has said. Firstly, teaching, remuneration in teaching can never ever compare with an active seafaring career. It cannot do that. So if my suggestion is, if teachers are thinking that they would get that kind of remuneration, it's not, teaching is not for that person. I would rather suggest that perhaps a slow transition into teaching. So active seafarers during holidays between ship tours can come in for guest lecturing, and that can enhance teaching skills. So I actually, personally, I had done that when I was a guest lecturer at MASA Academy and also at ARI. So these two academies gave me this opportunity. But for some reason, this is not being advertised much. It's not being promoted as an option. And the second thing I wanted to say, I agree with what Captain Nigam said. There is fabulous career progression available in teaching. Because of my experience in teaching at MASA and ARI, I got the opportunity to teach in the UK, in a maritime university in the UK. And further, it gave me an opportunity to work at the IMO as well. So that was possible only because I started teaching. It was definitely not because of my seafaring career. So definitely there is progression. And finally, just a small personal anecdote. I was approaching a deep water anchorage at Fujairah. I think everybody understands that Fujairah is a deep water anchorage. And I had lowered my anchor, and I reported to the port control as master of the ship that I had lowered anchor within the port limits. And out of the blue, somebody on the VHF contacted me and asked me, is this Captain speaking? So I said, yes, it is. So he said, well, sir, I recognized your unmistakable voice on the VHF, and you taught me stability many years ago. And I just wanted to thank you for the learning experience that you gave me. And I think, to me, that was invaluable. There is no money value you can put to that. So that is the best thing about teaching. Out of the blue, you might get some kind of experience which reinforces the fact that yes, teaching is a great profession. It just needs to be promoted better. Thank you.
Just to quickly answer you, Captain Arvind, just as you were teaching when you were sailing at Masa Academy, it's a reasonable norm. It is there. And though naturally, due to certain restrictions, such numbers are not very high, because it starts with the passion, which was also expressed, that you can't have anybody walking in and teaching. It doesn't work like that. So it is there. Okay. Okay, we have a number of hands up, and I think Viraf is there, and Jagmeet is there after that. And I think after that, we need to stop because we're reaching the end of our timing. Viraf, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Madam Dr. Malini Shankar, sorry, this is going to be a little bit of as the senior said, stirring up a hornet's nest and a view contrary to yours. But this is the problem, that the market has a perception that teacher remuneration, particularly, and I will like to repeat what Captain Nigam sir said, that teacher remuneration is, at the bottom rung of shore remuneration, shore-based remuneration. It is not factual. And of course, I have a bit of an advantage that my employers are a ship management company, but I can assure you that our team, when it comes to pay slips, standing toe to toe with any other department in a large ship management company managing 600 ships. But there is a methodology on which the team has achieved this. And as Captain Nigam said, that you have to showcase the value of the team. Now, showcasing the value in notional terms in a classroom is amazing, and a lot of trainers do that. And we would be proud as an industry to say that we have been instrumental in preventing accidents, preventing operational losses, etc. but that's all notional. It's difficult to measure. It's like trying to measure how many people did not die because they were wearing seat belts. What we have tried to achieve, and it's been a decade, and we just want to share this example, is at a very early stage we realized that while learning how to teach EGDIS, we were managing to be head and shoulders above the rest out at sea. Yes. And when that head and shoulders was not just the OWs, we suddenly realized that we are better than shore-based technicians. We are giving solutions which the manufacturer authorized technician is not providing. Now that translated in giving a back-end service which involved not just operational assistance to our vessels, but also consultancy on fitment of EGDIS to ship owners. Today, we can proudly say that there are times when a vessel writes to a large organization making multiple equipment other than EGDIS, and you get a docket number, and before the docket number arrives, we give a remote solution to the vessel. Now imagine what is the quantifiable benefits of it. There are times where we've given solutions which would require a technician to fly down, charge for the logistics, fly down to South America. If he made it to that port, would charge by the hour in euros and dollars. And we are talking about large sums of money. We are talking about making sure a vessel does not get detained in Australia at times, not because the OOW has not understood the problem, but in fact, the PSCO has not understood elements of the EGDIS, and they genuinely want to learn. We've interacted with them, and then they've come across and said, oh, sorry, we misinterpreted the performance standards wrongly. Thank you for enlightening us. We do that for DNV, we do that for Class NK. We have added value in a measurable way, and that has allowed our team to have remuneration matching, and in cases exceeding our peer departments also. So it's a question of redesigning, reinventing maritime education and training, going outside the classroom confines and showing the commercial value, being self-sustaining. Today, a classic example is online training, on-cloud simulators. There is no limit to where we have our faculty from. We could have one in Dehradun. It does not have to be from Navi Mumbai. She can be somebody sitting overseas, as long as the faculty does not have the time zone issue. So there is when you introduce technology, when you think out of the box, you can not just be, operationally viable, you can be commercially viable and have the wages in.
Yep.
So basically the head of the institutions or the managers have to think in those lines. There should be openness. They have to think this way, not think about their teachers. अरे इसको तो केवल 18 घंटा पढ़ाना है.
See, the teacher engagement, just as we talked about student development, and I think Dr. Jadhav very categorically expressed that it has to move to outcome-based and student-centric rather than teacher-centric. But the teacher-centric also involves teacher engagement, and it finally may be hand in glove with what Jagmeet and David said about passion. You see, what Chirag just now explained was, I think, a lot of passion with which he expressed the expertise that they have developed. And it hasn't happened overnight. There must have been a lot of trips and falls to reach that level. I think Madam Shankar, Dr. Shankar wants to comment.
After Madam Shankar, give me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
One clarification regarding the remuneration. It is, while it is true that when a person enters as assistant professor, the remuneration is actually quite low, and that is the way it is structured. It is not so low when it goes to associate professor and professor. I've had discussions with the industry people on this. In fact, when you go to associate professor, it matches the parallel post that you would hold on an offshore on a shore job. So let us not look at it. And there are it's a trade-off. You're at home, you're with family. There, like every choice, there's a trade-off. But what I would like to appeal to the forum of this MTG is that we do need people to get into academics part-time or full-time if we want to, because we say we want seafarers, 20% seafarers to be Indian, and so many ambitious statements. If we don't get the right people getting into academics, as I said, part-time or full-time, I don't see a very bright future for the Indian seafarers. And that's not I'm looking at a positive note of trying to get people into academics rather, or training and education, both. Because it can't be, training also cannot be perfunctory training. It has to come with a certain knowledge, passion that the panelists have spoken about. And after all, we're talking about demand and supply. I don't think, look at 2 lakh, I think now we have 2.2 lakhs, 2.5 lakh active seafarers, and we are not looking at more than 100 people who should come into training. Look at the minuscule proportion we are looking at. Thanks.
I think she's muted herself, I think.
I said, that's all I wanted to share, because we're running out of time. So I don't want to
yes.
dwell on this for much longer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, can we have Jagmeet's comments? And I think that we would call it a day after that.
I think Dr. Malini Shankar, she said it so very well to end it. And I would like to leave it at that, except that I would like to answer to Arvind. First of all, Arvind, it was good meeting you in London in April during the meeting at ICS. I just want to clarify to you, when I was talking about, the remuneration, there is no way which I mentioned was what you're getting on the ship, you should get in the colleges. All right. So that has been very nicely, very properly clarified by Viraf as well as Dr. Malini Shankar, that it has to be the shore-based. The comparison has to be with shore-based opportunities. And with regards to the assistant professor or the lecturer thing that I talked about, definitely what I'm saying, and I'm very strong views I have about it. If you have a master's and chief engineers with X number of years of experience, of course, we need them. We realize at the same time that a good trainer can add a lot of value to the students, who can add a lot of value to the industry, and overall we can help achieve the goals which are set in the MIV 2030 and MIV 2047. I mean, this is extremely, extremely important, and the supply and demand situation is quite critical. If we want to move ahead, we have to do in a way that is practical. And thank you, Malini ji, for clarifying it. Thanks.
Okay, all good things must come to an end. Though we have had views from one swing of the pendulum at one end to the other end, but I'm sure that there is a median path, and passion, the love for teaching, and sensible remuneration. I think they all will all contribute towards development of faculty. But I will leave it at that. However, I think I will define one simple word, because we use the word professional here a number of times. And I recall that the Nautical Institute published a book called The History of Nautical Institute many years back. And that was one book which actually defined what is a professional. And I have not been able to find it anywhere else or come across it. And that book actually said, what is a professional? A professional is a person who practices a profession. And what is that profession? Profession is something that requires a certain amount of training, education, and skills, which is formal in nature. It would require certain amount of certification at the end of it. And finally, it must bring benefit to the society. So actually, our profession does all of that and more, if not. So with these words, I would like to hand back to our Master of Ceremonies, Viraf, with all the fancy money that he probably gets paid. So over to you, Viraf.
So just for the record, I drive a Tata Nano, sir. But that's out of choice. So thank you so much. Thank you, Captain Halbe sir and all the panelists. And moving along quickly, bearing in mind that we have half an hour overshot the limit, but I'm sure none of the participants mind that. May I request Captain Kamal Chadla sir, media partner for Maddox, and also an excellent online host, to take over the final vote of thanks duties. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Viraf. Thank you so much. Captain Yadav spoke about backbenchers in the class, and he mentioned that teachers often target or should be targeting kids in the backbenches because they probably need the most attention from from various points of view. However, I used to be a backbencher in the initial years of my school, and I realized that it was not a good place to sit because the teachers targeted you. So I conveniently started sitting in the first bench amongst all the jewels of my class over there, despite being of a very modest academic brilliance. But today I find, yes, I'm repeating the same. I'm again sitting in this class of brilliant people of maritime academics and training. And yes, I repeated what I used to do as a kid. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be delivering this vote of thanks. On behalf of the entire Maritime Trainers Guild, the founder president, Captain Prabhat Nigam, the vice president, Dr. Surinder, and the MTG event organizing committee, I, Kamal Chadda, General Secretary of MTG, have the honor and pleasure to deliver this vote of gratitude on the 11th foundation day of the Maritime Trainers Guild. My sincere thanks to the very gracious and highly acclaimed Dr. Malini Shankar, who has taken time out to speak to us and stay with us right through the event, which is very, very nice of you, madam, because there's many we know who would not bother hanging around till the end. She has honored us time and again with her presence and once again impressed her with her astute observations and suggestions. Thank you so much, ma'am. The presenting speaker, our gracious thanks to you, Dr. Vijay Jadon, for an eye-opening talk on outcome-based education. Special thanks to Captain Shiv Halbe, CEO of MASA, for so brilliantly conducting the panel discussion. He brought out so many aspects, and some very humorously and some, of course, very seriously. He brings out a great mix. The panelists, Mr. David Birwadkar, Captain Mahesh Yadav, Jagmeet Makkar, Jasjeet Suri, they have all impressed us with the impactful thoughts on the subject of trainers and training. Thank you so much, gentlemen. The organizing committee have been working for over a month to put this event together. The ever supportive in the committee and deserving of a very special mention are Mr. S.M. Rai and Captain M.M. Sagi. And a sincere thanks to all the others as well. And all the others know who they are. So I'll just won't bother with the names. They're always there and they're always very, very supportive. Thanks so much, Captain Viras Chichgar, for managing so astutely the ceremonies and adding your own unique flair to the introductions. Our gratefulness to the media for providing pre- and post-event publicity. Team Marix has taken care of the publicity, design and artwork. A very important word of thanks to Ms. Delphine and her designer team. At Chitkara University, we have had great support from Dr. Gulshan Dillon and the tech team there. A sincere thank you. I hope I have not missed anyone. My apologies if I have, but thank you all. and have a very pleasant lunch and a very nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Before we go for lunch, can we all switch on our cameras for the picture? Gulshan, you there?
Yes, sir.
You can switch on your camera too. So I see there are about 5 screens. So how do you want to go about it? You can do it. You can shift screens and take pictures.
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay, please go ahead. While she's taking pictures, just for your information, at the peak, we had 135 attendees and about on an average 100 continued till the end. And by today's webinar standards, I think it's good. It's very good.
Thank you so much, everyone. The picture is taken. Thank you so much for joining this.
Thank you. Let's go for lunch.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.